The term data type relates to columns and the type of data that Power Query or Power BI believes is in that column. The data types are determined by Power BI when it scans the first 1,000 rows of your data source. It will scan the first 1,000 rows and look at the data in each column and decide, is that column a date column, is that column a number column, is that column a text column, etc. Now, it usually gets it right, but sometimes it might get it wrong because it scanned the first 1,000 rows and further down, and maybe it's determined that that's a text, or maybe it's determined it's a number column, but then beyond that 1,000 limit, there are actually some numbers, or vice versa. So it may actually get the data type wrong, usually in a flat file, a CSV file, or an Excel file, because people manually enter data into those files and they pretty much can enter anything. Whereas a database, it's less likely that you're going to have this issue. The best practice is actually to get it to check or detect the data type. So for example, I'll click on customers, I'll go to transform, and here's detect data type here. Automatically detect the data type of the currently selected columns. So I'm sitting, say, on postcode, detect data type, and it's detected that this is a text column. Now, some may argue, but there's numbers in there. Yes, there are numbers in there, but there's also text in there. And so text overwrites the numbers. If, for example, I look across these columns, I can see this is a text column because it's got an ABC. And I think most of the ones in customers are text columns. So let's go to, say, orders, sales 2019 to 2021. This is a text column, this is text, this is text. This is the decimal because it's got a 1.2. This is a decimal because it's got 1.2. And so those last three are. If I went to another table, we might decide that we have to update some of these data types. So let's go to, say, the orders query. Here we have a column called order date. This is a number, this is text, this is a number. This, because of that little symbol, is a date and a time. And that's exactly what I'm seeing in here. I'm seeing the date that the order was placed, but I'm also seeing midnight mentioned for every single row. So I really need to change this data type from a date time to just a date. There's a variety of ways you could do it. You could go to transform here and you could change the data type here. What if I went to detect data type? If I click that, yeah, see, it still thinks it's a date time, which is not correct. So I could change it from a date time here to just a date, and that would resolve it. Replace the current. And so now it's just cut it straight down to a date, and instead of having a little clock, it's just got a little date calendar. And there's the change type step. Another way that you could change the data type, because I need to do it for these two as well, if I click on required date and I hit this little symbol, I could change it from a date time, which is that little picture you'll see there, to just a date column. So these are all your different data types here. You can change something to a decimal number, a fixed decimal number. So a decimal number is up to 15 significant decimal places, whereas a fixed decimal number is only 4, like an exchange rate. A whole number has no decimal places. Percentages, date and time, date, just time, or even time zone. Duration, we will look at shortly. Text is alphanumeric. Yes, no is like a Boolean, and then binary. I would like to change it to just a date. And I'm going to do the same for this column here as well. So we can easily detect data types, change data types, and we've done a few of those. Now I need to change 2 of the data types in the employees table as well. Everything else is pretty much okay, but in the employees table or query, you'll find that the 2 date columns here, birth date and hire date, are also date times, and they really need to be just dates. That's a date and that's a date. And so you can see that they've just changed to dates automatically. Lastly, order details needs a data type fix. In order details, we have got a discount column, and here it is here. Now these actually should be showing as percentages, not as decimal number. So I'm going to change that data type to percentage, And that's exactly what you see happening here. And there's the step there, changed type, which means changed data type. And so those are data types. You really want your data types to be correct, otherwise you might have problems working with formulas. You might have problems creating relationships between tables. You might even have problems creating hierarchies. So you really want to make sure that your data types accurately reflect the type of data that is actually in that column. Yeah.